Taro Adun, Executor. All seems lost now, but still we must fight on. We must find Tassadar and secure his release from the Judicator before they can execute him for treason. Without him, I fear there is no way to defeat the Zerg and their overmind. Zeratul and his Dark Templar have vanished, leaving us to fend for ourselves. I wonder if Tassadar was mistaken to have put his trust in them. We are receiving a transmission from Captain Raynor's command ship.
This is Raynor. I'd like to help if I can. Tassadar laid it on the line for me and my crew on Char. I'd like to repay the debt. Besides, I'm a long way from home, surrounded by hostile aliens. I've got to do something.
Then you shall, Mold Human. You shall.
Hi everyone and welcome back to Let's Play Starcraft, and this is Mission 8, the Trial of Tassadar, and it is our first introduction to the carrier. And we also get Jim Raynor's flagship, the Hyperion, which he managed to liberate from the Dominion. And we'll be seeing a little bit more work throughout the series. This is another PvP mission. We are going to try and rescue Tassadar. And it's really, this is full-on Protoss, no-holds-barred beat-down on Protoss. So, unlike the last mission where we got 1,000,000 minerals and Vespian gas to start with, this time we're on pretty much a zero start. And the temptation is to go carriers, so that's what I'm going to do. We don't come under as vicious attack as we did in the first game, because I mean maybe they want it putting forward that in the last mission the Conclave were just sieging us, whereas in this mission we are very much we're sieging the Conclave, as it were. So they're not quite as they are not quite as ready for it, shall we say. They're not quite as aggressive. But because of that, we have to sort of get our skates on. Now, carriers don't act like battle cruisers for the Terrans. They're basically in the same sort of slot in terms of where they fall in the tech tree. But unlike battle cruisers, the carrier has to actually build its own weapons that are in the form of interceptors. And what makes this a little bit different is that upgrades tend to have a very, very serious effect on carriers. One of the upgrades that I will be getting, and the very first upgrade you can get, initially a carrier can only build 4 interceptors because they have to build their own sort of attack units. And those interceptors do 8 damage each per shot. So you think that's decent, 32 damage, but obviously because it's 4 different attacks, then armor has an effect on how much damage is done, and so does air weaponry. Now, one of the upgrades I will definitely be getting is the plus, and you can see I've finally learned to do probe transfer properly, is to be able to build 4 more interceptors. So that's great. Now you can do 64 damage per volley. That's really awesome. Obviously it does 8 less per point of armor, but obviously weapon upgrades apply to the interceptors only, so it's plus 8 damage for every plus 1 attack upgrade. So if a carrier with plus 3 attack was actually doing damage to something which had 0 armor or 0 shields, 1 volley would do 88 damage, which is just absolutely insane. So carriers are super huge, sort of super huge DPS if and when you get them upgraded. And also they look incredibly cool as well. But the downside is that they're very, very expensive. They're 6 supply, 350 minerals, 250 gas, and then the interceptors are 25 apiece. So in order to get a fully stocked carrier, it's 550 minerals, 250 gas, and it's right at the top of the tech tree. So it is a very, very, very serious investment to go carriers. But we're going to do that for this mission because carriers are freaking awesome, and we will be going down that route. So I'm basically walling off here because, again, I know that the Protoss flyers sort of come over this wall and their ground units really aren't worth anything early in the game. Plus we have the Hyperion to defend against that sort of thing. It is very tempting to build interceptors for your carrier right off the bat, but I'm not going to. I am going to just leave it there for the moment because we don't come under any sort of really serious attack, and I'd rather get my infrastructure down, I'd rather get +1 weapons, and I'd certainly rather get shields because I'm definitely going to be needing shields at some point. Obviously if you're up against +3 shields and you haven't upgraded attack, your round of attacks does 24 damage less. So, you know, that's pretty bad. You know, so you have to be very careful about what you're doing on that front. I think the enemy sends a carrier at us early, so I am just trying to put as much stuff as possible in the way. I think that 3 cannons should be enough to start off with. That'll immediately get rid of any scout harass. We'll generally be okay on that front, I believe. So I'll just take the opportunity now, while I've now got my economy up, to build the interceptors for the carrier. I will want that upgrade ASAP, but in order to do that I need to go all the way up the tech tree and build a fleet beacon, so that's pretty bad. So it's pretty obvious that Tassadar's in a lot of trouble at this point. The Conclave without a doubt will execute him. I'm actually wondering what they're waiting on. You know, why are they holding him in a stasis cell? There really isn't much reason for him to be for them to be waiting around at this point. They've already prejudged him, let's face it. So, you know, they're just sort of hanging around at the moment. Let's get the Hyperion involved here. I have to be a little bit careful with the Hyperion because the Hyperion can't be repaired. So I have to keep it a little bit out of the fighting. But Jimmy will find himself to be quite useful in this mission anyway. He is he's the rock. So let's get a pylon and a gateway down, and then we can get back to mining all these delicious minerals. Scout has made its way into the base, and it's awkward trying to defend this area. It really is, because they sort of fly in over the mineral patch, and hello Houston, we have a problem. And this is an upgraded carrier as well, so it has 8 interceptors, which is going to make things awkward. Takes out one of my photon cannons, but you can see my dragoons are just about, I think this is just about going to be held off. As long as I can destroy the... You can see, once the interceptors start being destroyed, there's less... the carrier loses a lot of its firepower at that point. So if I just rebuild this cannon... And I will send someone out there to deal with the carrier at some point, but at the moment it's not really doing too much harm, so we'll leave it where it is for now. We are getting a little bit harassed, but a little bit of a harassment is okay. I need a cyber core, so let's put that down up there. That'll also allow me to research air upgrades, which I will definitely need to do with the carrier hanging around. I tend to sort of build a pylon whenever I build something else early on. I'm definitely going to need the supply. It's going to be really easy for me to get supply blocked here. It just means there's a little bit more room as well for me to place some of my buildings. Actually, just in case they try and sneak... Yep, can just about get it in. Just in case they try and sneak over my mineral line again, I'm just going to build a pylon in back here and then just build another cannon there. So once again, emphasizing the difference between facing an AI and facing human opponent. Human opponent, you very rarely put defensive measures in. Certainly early. You will put them in at some point, more than likely, but certainly not at this point. I'm upgrading air weapons. Usually I go for the Dragoon upgrade. Usually I go for the Dragoon upgrade at that point, but because I'm going carrier, because I'm just sort of turbo rushing to carriers at this point, I'm going to just simply sit on air weapons. It works really well with carriers, they just absolutely start leveling buildings. So I'm going to just be quite happy doing that. Okay, I guess it's time to bring in a Stargate. Again, this is sort of knowing that we're not, we're not going to be under any sort of major trouble here, or major pressure. I think +1 weapons has been completed now, so I'm just waiting to do +1 shields. Because obviously shields are going to be important to my flyers, because I'm going to want to keep them alive, because losing a carrier is a really big loss, and I don't want to be doing that. Oh, tried to sneak something in there, did we? It's one thing that is useful as well. If the enemy try and float an observer over, I've got a row of detectors there. Well, this isn't the greatest attack in the world, is it? And this is what I mean by you're not under anything like that. Oh. Me and my big mouth. Lost my zealots, but now... The thing is, the last time I didn't have good old Jimmy to sort this out. Jimmy, can you please sort out that Reaver? You'll also notice, at least there's something I leave here. I think that Jimmy fires faster than a normal battlecruiser does. So even though he doesn't do much more damage than a normal battlecruiser does, I think he only does like 30 per shot. I want to say 30 per shot. He's definitely superior. The other thing that the Hyperion does have, the Hyperion has a huge amount of HP and armor, whereas the NORAD 2 is based very much around weaponry. The Hyperion is more based around survivability. So he can't one-shot Marines, but he'll last an awful lot longer than NORAD 2 will before you take into account upgrades and everything like that. You can see we're doing quite nicely as far as getting our economy going here is. And let's put a second gateway down. I'm going to need a Templar Archives as well in order to get those upgrades going. I'm not going to build Archons. I simply do not have the economy to do that. And just bring him up here. Build another pylon so I can get my things going, and that is the fleet beacon down now, so I can build carriers. But the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to upgrade the carrier capacity. Now you can actually see I can upgrade my scouts so they can have better vision and faster movement, but I certainly don't have the economy to go like scouts and carriers, so we're just going to go carriers, and that pretty much will take us through this mission. And it's what I said, that I personally thought that the last mission was probably the toughest in the game, because I didn't have access to all this tech. This time round I do, and I think that that's just going to be what causes a huge bonus for me. This is a really, really big bonus for me, that I can build carriers and things like that. I don't know if I need a Templar Archives to build a carrier. I honestly don't know. I generally don't rush that fast to fleet beacon, but yep, upgrade to level 2 weaponry. That's the ticket, laddie. We are going straight for it here. Absolutely no mercy. Just straight up carriers and damage. And yeah, you can see how I'm... but fortunately, carriers build incredibly slowly. So by the time one pops out, I'll easily have the minerals and gas for the second one. So that's not going to be a tremendous issue. And there's level 1 shields. So upgrades proceeding nicely at this point. And there we go. I can now build 8 interceptors per carrier, and that's going to make a huge difference now. So there we go. Let's finish off our first carrier. Jimmy standing by there admirably. Now, you'll actually notice in the splash screen for this mission, the huge carrier in the mission, that's the Ganthrynor, which is Tassadar's command ship. I believe that according to what has been said in the lore now, the Ganthrynor is classified as what's called a super carrier, which means that it actually has forward-facing weaponry, blah, blah, blah. It has purifier beams and things like that, which is odd because we will see the Ganthrynor, but it won't have those weapons on it. But, you know, retconning being what retconning is, that's basically what they have called it. Zealots there. I'm just sending my scout out to do, funnily enough, to scout. I know, weird, right? But let's just have a quick peep around here. Finally get to do some proper full might of the Protoss stuff now. And it's been a long time in coming. Down here is where we're interested in. You can see here, there's sort of a couple of pylons and then just a line of turrets. So those turrets can do quite a lot of damage, so we've got to find a way to bust through those things. Oh, we've got an attack coming in. Some zealots. Between all my cannons, Fenix and everything else, I don't think we're going to have much trouble holding. Might lose a couple of dragoons, but yeah, overall, fine, whatever. But you can see there's a couple of things, but I know what outranges. I know what outranges turrets. Oh, Jimmy. I knew he'd be useful for something. Yeah, that's quite a lot of turrets as well, so smashing through this position would actually be quite difficult. But we have Jimmy on standby, so that's just going to be, while my carriers are building, Jimmy is just going to waltz out there and start blowing up some turrets. I'm not quite sure what happened here either. Somehow a dragoon has got like weird mental abilities and it's somehow managed to find a way to shoot through walls. Ow, one of my carriers is getting hurt here. Why the hell aren't the rest getting involved? There we go. Much better. I love the way the interceptors just like swoop in and out. I think that's really cool. I'll have to build a shield battery at some point here as well, just so that I can... I love how they managed to just waltz in and my dragoons are just going, yeah, you know what? That's one of the things, like, when I was playing the game, it was just a case of, yeah, whenever I don't want my units to go running headlong into an ambush, that's exactly what they do. However, when I want my units to decide to run in blah, 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 that's exactly what they don't do. Okie dokie, so I'm getting a bit low on gas at this point, but that's to be expected due to the... that's to be expected really due to the mass production of carriers that's going on here, but I'm just going to build a couple of photon cannons just to give myself a little bit of extra D here. I've also built a couple of Archons, which I think is greedy beyond definition here. God, look how much damage those zealots can tank, it's ridiculous. It might just be that you know, those photon bolts are just ridiculously bad against zealots. I know that there are some weapons which don't do. Oh, Reavers, huh? You know what isn't? You know what aren't good? What Reavers are not good against? Carriers. They're not good against carriers. You know, you really should have thought about this. Reavers are not good against carriers. Okay, right. So that's just my like personal revenge for the last mission. So what do we got here? 6 carriers, 7, something like that. 7 carriers. Many carriers. Well, I decided 8 carriers was enough. I think that we can push with that. And when they're completely upgraded like this, it's they're pretty much a walk in the park. You can see that Jimmy's done his thing down here. There's only 1 photon cannon left. No photon cannons left. Oh yeah, Reavers. You know what you're not good against? Carriers. Smash up that robo facility just for, you know, just for old time's sake and the fact that I hate Reavers. Yeah. They do kind of go all over the place, interceptors, but, you know, cool attack animation. Really like the idea behind them. I think that Reaver got away. He's like crawling away. Ah. Shuttle got it and picked it up. Never mind, I'll just slaughter everything here instead. Obviously, Fenix is perfectly happy with seeing the Protoss slaughtering each other. I know that Tassadar got a weak stomach at the end of the last mission, but maybe Fenix is completely happy with this. See, I can what my Vespene geese has been exhausted now, so it's going to be very difficult to support this. But with smashing up this little purple base here, that means we can now, guess what? Expand! And expanding is a good thing. Means that we can continue our production of carriers because we don't have enough, obviously. Now, scouts are usually good against carriers in numbers, but 1-on-1, no. Or in this situation, 1-on-9, no. And finish off the 9th carrier. That gets its full complement of interceptors. And let's get down here. And expand. Ooh, a Templar. Oh, it's always got to be an Arbiter, hasn't there? Fortunately, a carrier can tank a Size Storm without much trouble, but 3 Arbiters! And they didn't get to it in time. Never mind. Well, I don't remember what destroyed that Reaver. Oh, obviously I have some photon cannons in the base. Don't know why Reaver are getting range of photon cannons. That seems to be really dumb, but hey. Yep, free probe. There's definitely a lot of free probes in this mission. Still, I'll spare you the boredom of watching me expand over there. It's fair, you've seen it about 9 million times, so... What I have done around the bottom of the base is I put photon cannons there because Arbiters occasionally come over and freeze your probes if they've got nothing better to do. Basically, Arbiters are just super dangerous. You want to try and avoid... you want to try and kill them as much as possible because they are the one unit that are capable of sort of halting your carrier advance. And I've managed to deplete another Vespene geezer, but it doesn't matter, there's another one over here. At least I think there's another one over here. If I want to expand here, I can. But you can see the enemy's sort of really well spread out on this mission. They're massively spread out, and there's no real like super aggression to them. So this mission really, even though it's the third to last mission in the game. It was more an introduction to carriers more than anything else. I mean, alright, arbiters are decent against them, but there's no real... as if you let your opponent get this many carriers, there's really just no counter to it. So that's just the way it goes. I think that's probably why they introduced things like Devourers in Brood War and Valkyries in Brood War, just because there was just absolutely nothing that could stop a huge wave of carriers. Even though carriers are like super late game, but probably made them realise they could be a bit more liberal with the expansion, shall we say, letting either the AI or the human player get to carriers. It looks like that geezer isn't quite depleted, so we can have that. Again, don't think it matters. I've got a full force of 12 carriers now. There's not much that's going to be able to take that out. The purple player has his own fleet beacon, but he's made an error of building things that weren't carriers, so better luck next time. And it's not like carriers aren't just like super brutal in terms of how much health they have as well. They have a seriously huge amount of health, and with 3 shields and 3 flying armor, it's like good luck punching through that before the carrier does a superly huge amount of damage. So that's the purple Protoss pretty much wiped out. So all that remains for us to do now is to expand over here, because why not? And also this is my backup carrier, because you need backup carriers apparently. It's like nothing but carriers. I think I end up with something like 20 by the time the mission's over, and it's like overkill to the extreme on this mission. I mean, you saw that 8 took out the first base and 12 have wiped the remainder of this Protoss, these Protoss off the map. So just building up my forces here. Let's put down a couple of cannons, because just in case arbiters get any idea. That's a big spawn. That is a High Templar just like sitting there going, yeah. Send off the secondary carrier fleet. Want to build another pylon here just so I can build more cannons if necessary. It would have been nice that have let me keep my oh boy, how many scouts? Oh god, the hallucinations. Oh no. And there's a Psy Storm right on top of my carriers and I haven't seen it. Oh god. I lost one carrier there. Actually, to that sort of attack, I don't really think losing one carrier is a bad thing. And I got an arbiter out of him as well, so not too terrible. Oh well, it's a carrier, 3 carriers oh no, 5 carriers versus a scout. This isn't going to go well for said scout. Guys, whenever you're ready. Yeah, there we go. Oh no! Oh, fortunately cast it on my healthy carriers, so no real problems. Get back here. It's like the only unit that a High Templar can outrun is a carrier. Still, after shield batterying up, I am going to make them pay for their insolence. So, you know what's going to die here? You and your entire base. Yeah, get back here. Come back here with that High Templar. Yeah. Kill that High Templar. There we go. Oh, gonna lose a carrier, am I? No, just about saved it. Yeah, this is where the Protoss are actually being harassed by their own wall here, because the Dragoons have to walk around. There's like how many interceptors out there? 96 interceptors out there. It's like, that's not a place where, you know, if you walk into that as a Dragoon, you're not having a good time. And this really, I mean, you wouldn't call it a timing attack at all, but this attack is pretty much right after they committed the vast majority of their forces in that attack on my base. I think interceptors heal up fully when they return to the carrier, so, you know, that return to the carrier just makes things super easy. Oh, you have one carrier, do you? I have 12. Let's see how your carrier does.
Zeratul, we have found Tassadar's stasis cell. We will attempt to free him now. Your warriors have engaged the enemy.
Your carrier failed, that's what it did. There's the stasis cell. So you can see, this isn't really a, you know, this is not a superly heavily sort of fortified, massively dense position. You know, this really is just a straight up normal Protoss base. There's not like 7 Stargates or something like that, which is what you might expect. But I'm just going to order the carriers to target the stasis cell, I think, at this point, because photon cannons do not work well against carriers. The interceptors out DPS them by a mile, and also they just run back to the carrier and get repaired when they get hit. GG stasis cell. Come back, Tassadar.
I expected you to attempt to retrieve your hero. You will learn that the will of the Conclave is absolute. Make peace with Adun.
Stay thy hand, Adjudicator. The stewards of Tassadar shall not fall while the Dark Templar live. Call off your guards and stand aside, and you may yet live to see another moonrise.
I will not be addressed so by one so devoid of the Kala's light. You and your vile brethren shall die with these traitors.
Are you truly so blinded by your vaunted religion that you cannot see the fall ahead of you? Your conclave believes that they are winning this war, but all they have succeeded in doing is helping the Overmind to win.
What could you possibly know about our designs, blasphemer?
You speak of knowledge, Judicator. You speak of experience. I have journeyed through the darkness between the most distant stars. I have beheld the births of negative suns, and borne witness to the entropy of entire realities. Unto my experience, Alderus, all that you have built here on Iora is but a fleeting dream. A dream from which your precious conclave shall awaken, finding themselves drowned in a greater nightmare.
We shall see.
Never doubt a Dark Templar. Zeratul has just performed an awesome entry, and Tassadar is now back with the good guys. So next time we will be taking on the Zerg, now that Zeratul has shown to be awesome, and I will see you next time.